Do not be alarmed. Do not adjust your screen. The human who normally presents these video displays is currently occupied with releasing liquid buildup in his framework. His message to you is that he will shortly demonstrate how he created me and this animated message that I convey. You must pay attention or there will be consequences. Let's boogie. Imagine.
Hey guys and girls, Mark here from SeaWild Earth, and what an entry. So today I'm going to be showing you basically how I took a selfie of me against a green screen here in the channel or here in my office and ended up with what you just saw. Just a very quick note, there was a bit of response to the video that I made about people wondering whether or not the AI is going to start killing and having an impact in the photography and creative worlds, and I don't believe it is. In fact, today is going to show you exactly how I believe it's going to benefit creatives. I mean, there is absolutely no way that I had the tools or the knowledge to do what I'm going to show you relatively easily today. There's no way I could have done that 6 months ago. So it's an incredibly amazing time for creatives to be in the sphere, as it were, now with all of these AI assisted tools that are coming out. Hopefully it will allow people to show, with the limited tools that are available, the potential of what they can do, and then for somebody who does in the audience have the power to be able to take that person, that individual, or that group of people under their wing and then catapult them onto greatness. I mean, there is always that potential for that to happen, and I think that it's just the evolutionary path we're on. We're always going to have people who cry and stamp and shout and throw their toys out of the pram because basically they are fearful of being left behind. They're fearful of newcomers being able to do things better than they do, faster than they do, and get more recognition than they do. And it's just a very basic cold fact of the creative industry: adapt or die. So you got to get with it, I think, and I embrace it. And hopefully what I'm going to also do, folks, without taking up too much more of your time, I'm actually going to be including a bit more of from around the creative world, as opposed to just looking at photography and going out on wildlife stuff. I will be doing every now and again AI relative videos, because it's an area that I think that this industry is going through at the moment, an evolutionary step, and it is just so exciting. So without further ado, I'm going to take you through from the steps it took me to go from little me into crazy bananas monster that you just saw. Enjoy. Okay, so the first thing that I had to do was create the image. So I started off with a selfie of yours truly, looking like a bulldog chewing a wasp, and I took that against the green screen in my short office studio, as it were, and then just entered that into MidJourney. Now this was the beginning of one of my problems, because I didn't remove myself from the green screen. So although I was happy, I then put that in because I wanted to release my inner cyborg, as it were, and so I entered my little green screen image, and I then put the prompt in to turn me into a cyborg, and what came back was okay. I thought, yep, we're on the road here, it's not going to take too long. How wrong was I? What happened is that subsequently I would then try and suggest to MidJourney, using that image reference of me against the green screen, of like trying to change the background, and instead of the green screen I would put I was asking for an industrial setting, but that was what I shouldn't have been doing, because what it just couldn't, for some reason it couldn't get rid of that green screen, and what it was doing was just creating different versions of me. And because I'd got the image of me with the hoodie on, I left it out of subsequent prompts, so it took the hoodie off and ended up putting me in office spaces, in a forest, in someone's front garden, and all of the places I didn't want to be. So, okay, let's attack this from a different view. What I then decided was to try and create a background. So I created a background. I had the cyborg version of me, the starting of it anyway, which was still on the green screen that I got from MidJourney. So I put that into Photoshop very quickly, took the green screen off, and then brought it back in, overlaid it onto a background that I had created in MidJourney, which I was happy with, and tried then to further customize the image using a series of prompts, all of which just took me further and further away from what it is that I was trying to accomplish. And the way that I accomplished the image was to basically start again with the selfie that I'd taken of me against the green screen. At that point, I then cut myself out from the green screen. I overlaid that onto an image that I eventually got from a stock library of a foundry with molten steel being poured, and all of the kind of like the ambience and the light that I wanted in the background of the image. I merged those two images in Photoshop, and then I imported that into Photoshop, and voila, I started to get images that I was looking for my cyborg, and eventually ended up with something that made me happy. Although the big problem was I had this big white patch, this big bright patch on my head. Normally I've got a bold patch in the back, but this time I had a white patch in the front, and it just kind of didn't work. It didn't look very good at all. So again, I then took the image from MidJourney, I up-resed it, and then put it onto my server, and I downloaded that. Now the problem with that is that MidJourney only gives you a relatively small resolution image. So initially I took it into Photoshop and I adjusted just by simply, I'm no whiz with Photoshop, but I cut out a piece of the headwear that the cyborg was wearing in the image that I got from MidJourney. I just placed it over the white glowing patch on the head, and then just used a little brush to merge in and to make it look like it wasn't too obviously overlaid by somebody who didn't really know what they were doing with Photoshop. But it didn't really matter too much, because I still had something that I wanted to do to camouflage all of that at a later phase. So I took the image from Photoshop, and because it was small, what I then done is I took it into GigaPixel from Topaz Labs, which is a software I use to up-res any images that I may be working with, and I used that and up-resed it from the 1456 pixels on the long side up to 2569, because that allowed me then the vertical resolution of 1440, which is what I'm working with in Photoshop. I don't do 4K in Photoshop. It's just, although I can film it, I do film in 4K, but I just then dump it onto a 2K timeline, and I think the resolution is good enough. So I up-resed it in Topaz GigaPixel, worked perfectly, flawlessly, and then I had to work with the animation. So what I then done is I took it into a free trial of DID, which is an animating program that you can use, AI based, and even on the free trial you can either use one of the default presenters, as it were, the AI robot presenters. You can either use one of those with a generic voice, or you can either upload your own image and your own voice, which is what I opted to do. Now on the outlines for how to upload an image, it has certain parameters of saying the head must only occupy 20% of the image, no headdress, clear, well lit, all of the things that my image wasn't. But hats off to this program, because it actually worked, and it worked pretty darn well for where we are at the moment with all of this animating software, and especially on a free trial. Now the one thing that I did learn on this is that the image, or the resolution of the video that you get back on this free trial is 720p, so it's not even a high definition, it's not 4K, which I was wondering a bit how that was going to work, but either way. So I uploaded the image that I'd worked on with Topaz Labs, and then I uploaded the voice, and that then spat out a 720p version video of that clip that you saw at the beginning of this film. And I was like, yep, okay, awesome. But there was one glaring problem. If you look at the ears, and you can see it now on the screen, if you look at the ears, or what is the headset of the cyborg when he's talking, even though the head is moving, if you look at the left hand, or what is the left hand ear, sorry, of the cyborg, that arrangement, that apparatus arrangement that he's got on the left side of his head isn't moving. It's absolutely static, so it looks like it's there, and the head is moving and it's impaling itself onto whatever this hard object is in the image. And so I was like, okay, crikey, this is something that's going to have to be sorted out. Bearing in mind, okay, this is also a 720p video, but with any of the paid trials you can get up to 4K UHD. With a free trial I was happy to get what we got. So anyway, I took the video out of there, and then from that point I then took it into a 2K timeline which I'd created in Final Cut Pro. I put it into that, and from that point on I laid everything out, and in order to try and disguise that discrepancy with the side of the head, I opted to use a plugin that I use from a company called Motion VFX, and that plugin is called M-Glitch. So all I needed to do was have my clip of the cyborg on the timeline, and then I could drag and drop the M-Clip, or the M-Glitch, sorry, effect into that, and then from that I could use one of the many presets, and in this one I think it was vertical shake. I could use that in order to animate further the cyborg so that it looked like it was coming in on a transmission that was slightly wobbly and glitchy and all that kind of stuff, and I was hoping that that movement in and of itself could then help to camouflage that discrepancy with the apparatus on the side of the cyborg's head. And happy to say that it actually worked, and it worked quite well. So a bit of trial and error, because it is quite a complex plugin for Final Cut Pro, and they also do provide plugins for many other editing suites as well. Once I got to a point where I was happy with that camouflage movement and the disruption of the video, I could then work on my voice, because obviously a cyborg isn't very convincing if he's threatening the planet with a voice that sounds like Mickey Mouse on helium. So what I then done is I very simply, with the audio track of the cyborg, I then created an audio filter using one of the default filters that you get with Final Cut Pro, and then just played around with it. I think it was the filter called Alien, and then I just played around with that to get to a point where I was happy with the voice of the final cyborg message. And et voila, everything from that point is toast, as they say, and that's pretty much how I did. I created that cyborg. It's the first time I've ever done any kind of animation, and I was just happy to accomplish what I accomplished. So if any of you were wondering, that was how it was all done. I'm actually, hold on just a minute, I've just got to quickly go, but I'll be back in a minute just to bid you all farewell. Hold on.
That was simple enough even for humans to follow. An emotion scan shows that you displayed the human trait of enjoyment when you were watching this information. You are instructed to like this video by dragging a mouse to click on the button below that displays the word subscribe. Following that, you are instructed to click like, select notifications, and leave a comment to this presentation. Failure to do so will lead to your termination. We know who you are. We know where you live. Do not initiate our arrival.